The back 9 holes.
No, where the hell's that?
Where the hell is the 18 holes in Hell's Gate?
Well, whatever it is, the back 9.
The back 9. The back 9 at Hell's Gate?
Yeah.
It's after hole 9.
I think you're mistaken.
No, there's another 9 holes after you finish the front 9 at Hell's Gate.
Alright, well, you'll have to show me. One of these days.
Well, we did. Well, I guess you didn't finish. That's what she said.
Yeah,
we didn't
never finish. Never.
I guess we didn't finish the last time.
I finished too soon.
Yeah,
You finished prematurely.
Yeah, you guys did finish prematurely.
Yeah,
you guys finished,
always. Oh.
You guys finished Hell's Gate prematurely.
Yeah.
You guys played it like it was sunset.
Like it was, indeed Hell's Gate. And not Heaven's Gate.
Welcome to episode number 4 of Living in My Head, Rent-Free, and today we are going to be living in a different person's head. We are joined by the legend, the man himself, my older brother, Trey is raw. Trey, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, you hit me up on Sunday, said, need you for the podcast, so came through for you. And appreciate you coming through for my interview we did a few weeks ago or whenever that was, and had a short stint over there. So
well, the thing is like I kind of want to revitalize the Raw interview, but do it in this way. I think the Raw interview had legs. So for those of you that don't know, which is quite literally probably all of you,
except Shane.
Yeah, except Shane.
Shout out to Shane.
And our parents.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know, who are big supporters of us, obviously.
Yeah.
The Raw interview, me and Trey, me and him sat down for an interview first, and it was hilarious, and I had a great time doing it because I was laughing. Nobody really makes me laugh like my brother does. This guy right here, he's unintentionally funny. He's a guy that you don't know when you're making people laugh. You don't know when you're funny.
Yeah, I'm dry.
Yeah, well, are you
the dry humor?
Are you dry or are you not trying to be funny?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think I'm funny accidentally.
Funny accidentally?
Yeah.
Well, kind of dive in more into your dry humor because more people I think more people want to know how much you're doing that intentionally or not. I'm going to go over here and check your audio levels.
Alright, well, Treeb's over there checking the audio levels. I don't know. I think for me it comes pretty naturally, and I think the thing that helps it the most is the tone of my voice, which is pretty monotone, which is another thing that, I'm trying to get back into the storytelling and see if I have the chops for that. But yeah, pretty dry humor. I'm not exactly a comedy head like my co-partner is or has. He's become quite the comedy as he does Kill Tony and such, but...
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I think because, my goal or my dream eventually is to do a form of stand-up comedy. I'd like to do that. And I think if between the two of us, if one of us was going to do stand-up comedy, I think you have the chops for it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, I have to ask you, so would you say that when it comes to speaking in front of people, do you find that pretty easy?
No.
Because for me, like, whatever I did, I mean, I was nervous, but at the same time, it was kind of entertaining. Because I'm just like, the worst that's going to happen is that, 16-year-olds roast me or whatever, so it's like...
What do you remember from speech class? Because I feel like I don't think you've ever told.
Oh, I did.
Did you tell some? What? Like what?
Well, I don't have any stories from it.
Yeah. Oh.
It
okay.
was. I was just bringing it up. I don't know if you had any speech stories or.
No,
nothing.
I liked speech in high school, and I liked being the center of attention, and I still do. That's why I have a podcast that gets not that many views, and I'm trying to up the production value to try and get more views. But I think as I've gotten older, I've enjoyed speaking in front of people less, and I know that doesn't make sense, with me wanting to try stand-up comedy, But I literally, like, even when I have to talk, like, at a meeting at work, I feel myself, like, kind of talk like this, like, during a meeting.
Yeah.
Like, I get a little nervous talking in front of people. But that used to be my thing. I used to really enjoy it. But no, I do get nervous talking to people. Before we continue, ladies and gentlemen, I have to let you know the hit podcast Living Rent-Free in My Head is available on every single digital podcast platform where you enjoy your podcast. That's right. You can enjoy the podcast on the go in audio form. You can listen to me ramble about random thoughts in my head. And when we have a guest on like Trey, you get to dive in more into the mental state and figure out what makes Trey. And I don't think there's really anything else better than that, Trey, than getting to dive into your head. And you know, I asked you to jot down some thoughts. And I think the first big takeaway that I have of this podcast is you have no sheets of paper. You have nothing typed out. I don't think you listened to me.
Well, you know, you did text me, and I was like, so here's the thing, Treeb. Do you think that when you get a guest on and the guest is actually worth something and not Trey, like, say you got someone that's has a little bit of name out there, you think you could text him and be like, okay, I'm gonna need you to jot down some ideas.
But you are Trey.
I'm just preparing you for this podcast if it plans to continue. Like, and it's like because and I have to give a plug to my guy because we also do a podcast. If you guys want to check it out, Shane got you 11. It's called the West Coast Podcast. Every other Friday at 10:30 p.m. And yes, both of us reside on the West Coast.
What a surprise.
But, no, man, I mean, because me and Shane, it's like a situation with Shane and I where we can get on and we have a lot of chemistry together, so we don't even really need, like, a whole mapped out. I mean, you could even make the argument.
And it's not even really that I don't have this necessarily mapped out, but the theme of the podcast is living rent-free in my head. So we're like, the whole thing is just things that I've been thinking about throughout the week, and we talk about it. So, you know, if you would have asked me like at the start of the week. That's fair.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
but to be fair on my end as well, and I'm sorry we keep interrupting each other. You can tell we're brothers. We're gonna get better about that. But be fair to me, I also was expecting to have a different guest on this week, and he ended up bailing on me. But so I wasn't sure if I had to call you in. I wasn't sure if I had to call in the reserves.
Yeah, no, I made a joke about that. He was like, hey, Trey, can you come on this podcast just in case my guest leaves? And I just think of, that's going to be the first ad that we released for the Rent Free in My Head podcast. It's going to be sponsored by Progressive. It's going to be like, if only there were backups in real life, and it shows the real guest, and then the real guest leaves. He's like, okay, Trey, time to come in. And I just come in all like the backup.
Yeah, by the time this podcast has like 700 episodes, you are going to have like 450 guest spots.
Be like
Ari Shaffir on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, that's what I was going for, or Bill Burr, for that matter.
Well, I don't think Bill Burr's been on JRE that many times. But.
Yeah, more than a couple, I'd say.
But I do have some thoughts and some stories that have been living in my head rent-free. Before we dive into some thoughts that have been going through my head that directly relate to my brother and I and kind of our childhood and our upbringing, I want to talk about a story that happened to me yesterday. This is something that is kind of hard to talk about because I feel like you kind of got to balance a line, so I'm going to do my best here. Renee and I, we live in an apartment complex, but there's only about 8 people that live in this apartment complex. And of course, our 2 downstairs neighbors are the craziest people in this apartment complex. You have one older lady who always falls down and always needs help doing stuff. And then you have a old man who is, still thinks that he's in his 20s and plays loud music at all hours of the night. And, this guy happened to find himself a woman, which, congratulations to him. But this woman, surprisingly, is a doctor. And not only is this woman a doctor, but she has 2 kids. And one of her kids is a total, like, snot-nose, like, punk, and you can just tell. Like, you can just picture this kid, right? When you think of a snot-nosed kid, what do you think of?
Snot-nosed kid, like, I don't know, I think of, people that are high up in the world. Like, is that kind of what you're getting at there?
Absolutely not at all. So this kid, imagine Billy from Billy and Mandy. So
so that's what you mean by that. Okay, gotcha.
So he has like boogers coming out of his nose. His shirt is too small for him.
So he's literally snot nose.
Yeah.
Because so in a literal sense, but usually when I think of snot nose, I think he's like a punk
snooty.
Snooty or something.
I got you. I see the misunderstanding. But anyway, this kid,
he literally had snot.
Yeah, coming out of his nose.
Yeah.
And it was almost like I could not believe that this was happening. We were just sitting in our apartment, and we hear this just like this little banging going on. We look outside. This kid is hitting the tree with a stick, just banging the tree with a stick. And our downstairs neighbor, who is not his dad, and trust me, he's gonna let him know this here soon. But it's not his dad. And he goes out and he tries to tell him to stop. And as we open the window, this kid starts going at him with the stick, and he had to grab the stick and he throws it. And as he throws it, they look at us as we're peeking through the blinds, and we shut them. And 10 minutes pass or whatever, and we go and decide that we want to go to KFC. And as we go outside, this kid is sitting on top of the stairs, yelling at our downstairs neighbor, and he said, and I quote, I'm not even joking, "You are not my dad, N-word." And then he said, "You need, leave me alone, N-word." And it has been probably decades since I have heard a white person so nonchalantly spew around the N-word. What are your thoughts?
Well, you're saying that it's been 10 years since you've heard it, which I'd say...
Probably been longer than that, actually.
Which I would say, Idaho, for the misconceptions that it gets, 10 years without hearing the N-word is not... I think we're moving in the right direction a little bit.
I think we're on the right track, for sure.
We're on the right... Now, for clarity, we're talking about the ER version, right?
No. There was an A. It was an A, but I don't think...
So it was the A version.
Yeah, it was the A version.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a soft A version, not the hard R version.
Yeah.
But, it put me in a moral dilemma, because when I heard this, when I came out the door, I wanted to bust out laughing.
It was a laugh.
All I wanted to do was laugh. But what does that do? That just shows that this kind of language is right, and that, this kid could get away with it.
So,
But it's also, I was also just shocked, because, wouldn't you just casually hear that out and about anymore?
Yeah. So for context, the person he was calling the N-word to, he was white too, right?
He was also white. Yes.
So it's like...
It was white on white N-word crime.
It was white on white N-word crime.
Yeah.
Sounds like Idaho.
Yeah, it is exactly Idaho. If you've never been to Idaho, that is what it's like.
Yeah.
2 white people, nonetheless a, kind of like a stepdad, stepson situation, calling 2 white, calling each other the N-word. And I couldn't get over it. It was the funniest thing that I've seen, but I couldn't laugh. What would you have done? You would have laughed.
I would have. I would have laughed too. But situations like that, and it doesn't even have to be the kid. It can be an adult. I'm gonna get philosophical on you.
Yeah.
But whenever someone talks like that, and you're asking yourself, oh, why he is, and it's because they want to get the other person mad. That's why that sort of thing happens. So
I was
and it's not an excuse. That's not what I'm saying, but
No, I was torn between that
Yeah.
and also, like, you could tell that he probably doesn't have any male influences in his life.
in his life at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I turn to, you
Yeah.
know, because it's not like we had a great dad, you know, and we're not just out here spewing the N-word, you know.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, and that's another good point because you also don't know what his circumstances are.
yeah.
Like, and you said he's raised by a single mom, so like, what guys is he, you know, bringing around him and stuff like that? So,
But you know, keeping with my thoughts here and kind of going in, sticking with the relationship with me and my brother here. I released my first podcast, and a lot of it was me talking about how I quit sodas. But not only did I stop drinking sodas, but I've been sober from alcohol for 6 months, and nobody was more primed to call me out on my bullshit for drinking or how much I drank than you. And I just want to address that and how you were just so blunt with me in my drinking habits.
when was this?
All
When did I call you out about your drinking habits?
All the time. I don't know if you just called
Oh,
me.
well, I don't remember that, but what I will say is there's been times not even that long ago where you'll show up and you'll have a backpack and you'll have like two tall boys
Yeah.
of whatever drink you have just chilling.
Yeah.
So I don't remember saying that, but it's pretty accurate.
I remember every time me and Trey did a couple of episodes of the Raw interview. I mean, we really tried to get that one up and going. And you know,
shout out to Theo Lawson, and
Matt
he's
Damon.
a good guy. Yeah,
I mean, those were two really good interviews.
Yeah.
But I forgot, I lost my train of thought there.
Drinking.
Yeah. So when I was drinking and I would have, you know, probably 3 or 4 drinks during the podcast, my mom would tell me afterwards, she'd be like, Trey's worried about you. He would tell us that you had like 3 beers in your backpack. And I'm like, what a snitch. And you've always been like that. You've always been a dirty, dirty snitch when I have been on illegal substances. Why can't you let me have fun?
God forbid. God forbid I let you smoke crack.
I
God forbid.
I probably would have already tried heroin if it wasn't for you not letting me just have a headache after I smoked a joint at a Tech 9 concert.
You ruined my life.
you ruined my life by not letting me ruin my life. Motherfucker. But no, that's something that sticks out to me. You know, are you proud of me?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, all jokes aside, I've always been pretty envious about how you, you know, in high school, you figured out you kind of knew what you wanted to do, and you didn't take no for an answer. And hopefully in other areas that you didn't do that. But for this specific career path, you didn't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
And that's why you're here. You're like, who needs college?
I know.
I'm going to be a journalist. I'm going to be a podcaster. Screw it. And you did it. And
thanks, man.
Yeah.
And that's funny. I got to tell somebody today that I was doing this job and I didn't go to college, and that was pretty cool. That's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, no, I always like was kind of questioning that, like you know, do you ever get around people who are a little bit higher up in the journalism business and they kind of look down on you a little bit because you didn't have a college degree or anything like that?
No, I think typically when I run into people and I talk to them about not going to college, I think they're envious of me, and I think that they actually think it's pretty cool that I didn't go to college.
And then plus, I mean, it's not like, you know, there's any like Harvard graduates or anything like that.
And like there are so many journalism jobs to be had. It's not like I'm taking anybody's job. You know?
Exactly.
Like honestly, like for how long that I like here at the Tribune, like that our Idaho beat reporter job was available for so long. Like honestly, if you just gave it like a really good college try, like you're like, I really want this job, trust me, I will give it 110%. I bet you they would have gave it to you.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, I mean that's all you got to do for sure. So, but there was You went to a few journalism camps back in the day, if
I went to
my memory serves me correctly.
I went to one and it was the lamest thing.
Well, I wanted to ask you because I could be tripping, but wasn't there a woman that was at the journalism camp that you didn't get along with at all? Or am I?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't get along with a lot of them. And honestly,
Yeah,
it almost turned me away from journalism.
From the journalism business.
But it didn't because I had a really good guy who showed me the ropes for the broadcasting part of it. Shout out to Corbin McDonald. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And he really, got me invested in the sports side of things.
Yeah.
But oh my god, everybody that was there, dude, there was like 10 people there. And like the only two guys there were me and one of my other guys that I went to high school with. And he was like a little kind of eccentric or whatever. And,
Yeah.
I mean, we were friends, but we weren't like best friends.
Yeah, like just acquaintances.
Yeah, so that was kind of weird. And then like all these girls in the class, or all these girls at the seminar were just like blue-haired, freaking like super left-leaning, like and that's just the newspaper business, and I don't have a problem with it. But it's like the people that just like let you know about it, and like they hit that really hard.
Well, I do remember a specific argument that you had with one of them, but I don't know if you want me to get into that.
Well, you can bring it up because I'm gonna edit this thing, so if I don't like it, I can just cut it out.
So. It had to do with the Washington Command, the Redskins.
I don't remember that, so
and
remind me.
And shout out to Zach, he was involved with it, but I remember you told the girl, he's like, well, I have a friend named Zach, and he's not offended by it. And then she responded something to the effect of, oh, well, he must not be a real Mexican or native or whatever.
Well, yeah. He must not be a real Mexican. He's not a fan of the Raiders. No, that's funny. Well, I will say I don't really recall that too much.
Yeah.
But it sounds like something
sounds pretty like it's something that could happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I will say that I have now learned that that's probably not the best argument in the world to say, I have a native friend, and he's not offended, and using that as an argument. But to be fair, her saying that he's not a real Native American,
that's just as bad.
That's just as bad.
Exactly.
But that's two people, two sophomores in high school.
I'd like to get her on the podcast now. I bet you'd be able to field your arguments way better.
Well, yeah, stage. And I think now I would not be that passionate about it.
Yeah, you just wouldn't care about it at this point.
No.
Yeah.
I do like how you brought up both of Zach's races.
Well, maybe it wasn't Zach. I don't remember.
Well, I don't. Well, the thing is I know for a fact I really only had one Mexican friend and one native friend, and they were both the same guy.
Yeah.
At that point, maybe it was Jameson. Because now I'm thinking about it, Jameson's also native, and actually, I had two Mexican friends and two native friends. So, shout out to Treeb for having a diverse friend group.
Yeah.
I think that goes a long way in Idaho.
Doesn't have any black friends, but he's open to it if anyone's interested.
Yeah, exactly. I won't take you over to my house though, because I'm afraid of what my downstairs neighbor's stepkid might say.
Right.
And what he might do to you with that stick that he's beating the tree with. I want to talk about our little, I want to talk about our drive over here. First of all, because we had to go pick up the key to get in here, because Bainey took it home, and I was able to find his house on the first try, and my homie Trey said that was great directional work, and I love to hear that. Yeah. Because I'm usually very directionally challenged. We both are. Yep. And I think there's no better example of that than from when we were kids, and when we used to go to SAC all the time, which was a middle school, and it was not that far away from where we lived.
Shout out the sack.
Yeah, and we would go over there, and that's kind of it. Had like a small.
That's kind of where we grew up, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like all the football games we used to play back then, and
yeah,
encounters and all that. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
We literally used to take like our wrestling action figures and like go and play with them at this junior high. There was just like so much, like obviously there was a football field, tennis courts, like
basketball.
You could play whatever, and there was like just so much space, so you could do kind of whatever you wanted. There was a track, you could ride your bike around it, tons of stuff.
Yeah.
But it literally, from where we lived to there, was a straight shot. Like you literally could not mess that up at all. But when we were young, and like, honestly, I wish I could undersell our ages. But I think we were older than what we were. I want to say you were probably 12, and I was probably like 10.
2 years apart, mind you.
Yeah, so I think we go there, and we could never find our way home. Right, because our mom used to literally go and pick us up, whatever.
Yeah.
And we could not find our way home. And this is before cell phones. And what did we use instead of a cell phone when we would go to SAC?
So we didn't have a cell phone. Huh.
You don't remember, really?
Wasn't a walkie-talkie, was it?
No, but we did have a walkie-talkie era that we did.
I remember that. Yeah.
We used to have a timer.
Oh yeah. How would that get us contact with mom though? Isn't that what you just said? It's like, well, we didn't have a cell phone. What else did we have? A timer.
Well, but the cell phone had a clock, and
it had a built-in phone into it. Timer goes off. Call mom. Time.
I guess the contact part doesn't make much sense. But the timer operated as a clock, and the timer would go off. We'd have to go home. It was literally like it was like we were like in an oven or something. It was literally just like a stopwatch. And one time we were at SAC and we lost the timer.
Yeah.
And we could not find it. And so during this whole hullabaloo, even though
what the hell was that?
This hubbub.
Hubbubaloo. That's what you said. What?
Hullabaloo.
Yeah. What is that?
Like commotion.
Commotion.
Yeah.
The quagmire.
That's a situation.
Yeah. The situation of us losing the timer.
Yeah. So the quagmire. Yeah, so the quagmire we were facing, right, was that we lost the timer. We didn't know how to make it home, even though we basically could see our house from where we were.
Yeah.
So we had to go into the junior high, use the phone to call our mom, and our mom was like a recluse. She did not like leaving the house if she didn't have to. And there's a video on TikTok, and this is kind of like wrapping around to this whole thing, because there's a video on TikTok that just really reminds me of this whole situation, and that's why I jotted it down, because it's been living in my head rent free. There's this kid who his dad's calling him, and he's totally like, he's like in the back seat, and he's in like a parking garage, and he's like, his dad's calling, he's like, where are you at? And he's like, Adam's house or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you're not. And he's like, I'm in North Liberty. And his dad's like, I'm fucking pissed.
Fucking pissed.
Fucking pissed. He said it again. And I remember mom comes from fucking, I remember she's in her sweats and her fucking long t-shirt that she'd always wear with her old ass dog Honey, who's fucking probably on her last legs, probably collapsed on the walk, and she gets there, and I remember I said, Mom, you have every right to be mad, and Mom never cussed ever, and she said, damn right I have every right to be mad, and then we walked home, and she was fucking pissed. Do you not remember that?
I do remember the timer. That I remember. The one story that I remember, it was something similar to that, but it wasn't because we lost the timer. It was because we thought we saw something. Which, looking back, it was kind of shady because there was a car that stopped.
Yeah, keep talking.
And then
check
it was
the audio levels again.
Audio level check. 1, 2.
I wish
And,
I just keep feeling like just don't like
lean
get
back.
too don't lean back too far. Well, you can if you
Yeah.
want, just don't lean back too far. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
Keep going.
So yeah, there was that. I mean, it could have been someone pulling a prank on us, but
what happened with that? I don't even remember this.
We were scared of something. We were tripping out about something.
When we were at SAC?
When we were at SAC, it was like nighttime. And I don't know if we called and were like, yeah, we need to get out of here. And she was pretty upset about that, but...
When did we see you? Do you remember? Can you retell the story?
It was... All I remember is that there was a car, and it just looked shady. But being at nighttime probably had something to do with it, because everything looks pretty shady when you're there. But stopped out, I don't know, looked like he was kind of walking towards us. Something like that, but no, I don't. To be honest, Treeb, I don't really remember going into SAC to use the phone. The timer thing, I remember.
That's crazy.
And guys, I think it's also important. When we were growing up, we were kind of at the brink of technology. Smartphones were a thing back when we were growing up, but not too many people had them. In fact, one of our first phones that we had were the little slide out, the keyboard. Treeb, you want to tell the people what those phones were like? Because I know you used them way more than I used mine back in the day, texting people.
Oh yeah, I remember. I remember the slide the text cell phones, and those were awesome and sick.
They need to bring those back.
Yeah, but I want to get into one more SAC story, and I want to see if you remember this one.
All right. Hopefully, I'll remember.
Yeah, but I think these stories are good anyway.
Yeah.
It makes us laugh.
Memory lane.
Yeah. I remember we were hanging out with one of our degenerate friends that
And I'm pretty. I didn't say his name, but I know who you're talking about when you say that, and I'm pretty sure he was with us when I was telling you that one story.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So yeah, we were with our degenerate friend.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, for some reason, like, our shoes were off, and we were like taking turns throwing each other's shoes, and this is the dumbest thing ever. We could have just had a football or something, but we decided to throw shoes, and he threw my shoe on the roof of like the snack barn.
Mm-hmm.
And when he threw the shoe on the roof of the snack barn, I was like, whatever, I'll just go up and get it. And then I go up and get it, and this lady who lives right by the junior high was like, you need to get down from there. And I was like, lady, I'm just getting my shoe. And then you and our degenerate friend, I remember, were like, leave him alone. He's just getting his shoe. And then she's like, I'm calling the cops. And me and Trey, right, we're not bad kids, never have been, never will be. So when I was on top of that shed, and she said, I'm calling the cops, I just sat there and cried. I didn't make a commotion, nothing. This lady just made a kid cry who just wanted to get his, like, probably A6 shoe off the building.
Off the barn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I do remember your shoe getting stuck up there. And if I remember correctly, there was another friend that just left after that happened.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not even going to deal with it, but... Not Treeb, you were definitely, and I hope I don't offend you when I say this, but you were definitely pretty emotional.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of back then, you were pretty quick to, break down, but which is fair. But nah, I mean the old lady, and I was wondering if you got that story confused from when I flipped off the old lady, because that sounds pretty close to what that situation was.
You and the DJ did that. I feel like I remember.
Yeah. But
yeah.
We shouldn't have been throwing shoes though. So
no.
we have to take accountability for that because that was stupid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also this like what are you gonna call it? Like you're wasting taxpayer dollars to call the cops on a kid getting his shoe off of a snack like barn.
Yeah. I mean, if we want to give her the benefit of the doubt, maybe she was just scared that we would fall and hurt ourselves, maybe.
That wasn't her tone.
That wasn't her tone.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't get that tone at all.
Just a Karen. We'll
Yeah.
write her off as that, I guess.
That's what I'd write her off as.
Yeah.
Something else I want to talk to you that's just, it's been living in my head a lot rent-free lately, but it's also living in my playlist rent-free lately. Nothing gets me going like old video game soundtracks these days. SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 has a excellent soundtrack. Old Maddens, and the thing is like the hidden gems that you hadn't heard were always the best for the soundtracks. But like the bangers and like the notable hits that they would put in the Maddens back in the day were also really good. Like I remember Undead by Hollywood Undead was on one of the Maddens, and like I'm getting real nostalgia for old music, and I've kind of already touched on that in an older podcast. But yeah, I mean, what do you think? You know, do you ever go back and tune in to some old Madden soundtracks and SmackDown vs. Raw 07?
Well, I mean, that's kind of how I figured out my love for rap music.
Yeah.
Was through the soundtrack because, you know, back when we were growing up, you know, you had the radio and then you had whatever your parents would listen to. And for our parents, it would be like, you know, our mom was pretty into like the pop scene. You know, she
like rap.
She had like a few pop songs and stuff. And you know, our dad's into like the classic rock, you know, Def Leppard and stuff like that. And so I remember we played Blitz the League, which I shouldn't have been playing. It was an M-rated game.
Yeah.
Listen to the soundtrack, and you know, some of the songs I look back now are pretty corny, but it definitely had some bangers. And you know, and I even remember showing Dad one of the the music videos, just pure underground, like we're talking pure underground New York hip hop in the early 2000s, when they would use the F slur like it was nothing. That's just how it was back then.
Before you get going, and because like that was just like another point that I had.
Yeah.
Is like in Undead, like that song, they just drop the F slur like it's nothing.
And that was like 2009. So even back then it was kind of, you know, kind of shocking. But so yeah, that's kind of how I first, you know, was like, huh, this is different. This is pretty cool. So you had that. Not a whole lot of bands you would probably know. Mad Child, who's a Republican conservative rapper now, but he was a well-respected MC from Canada back in the day. He was on the soundtrack, but yeah, it was like straightforward, like underground hip hop from like the early 2000s, late 90s, and that's what kind of sucked me into the whole scene. But SmackDown vs. Raw 07, NFL Street 2. I got a bullet with a name on it.
Bullet with a name! They're going to copyright this. They copyrighted my last podcast because I played Bad Bad Man by John Cena.
Yeah, what a mark.
I know.
You couldn't even see him.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's like...
Speaking of John Cena, did you see he turned heel?
You know, I did hear about it. It took them way too long to do it, to the point where I feel like nobody even cares anymore.
It popped the internet pretty good. There's a pretty big wave on Twitter. It was trending on Twitter, and I think, you know, it may have taken a long time, but when it finally happened, you know, the internet was in
disbelief.
Disbelief, because, you know, I never thought I'd see that. But I think like that's like the only thing he hasn't done. So it's like, why else? I mean, it's his retirement tour, so I feel like he kind of had to do it.
Yeah. They should have pulled the trigger in like 2011 when he was doing the whole thing with the Nexus.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to put Nexus over when they were like the hottest thing going back at that time. That would have been the perfect time for him to turn heel. And but they just didn't pull the trigger because all the little Jimmies wanted his merch and stuff. But I got respect for John Cena, but at the same time, I think the Super Cena run from like 2010 to like everything after that was kind of bullshit. Oh, I don't know if I can cuss or not, but it was kind of BS. So Cena wins, LOL.
Yeah, but I'm hyped for it. I think it's cool that he did that. Another thing that just lived in my head rent free that I've been thinking about. Because I saw a video on Facebook, and I have not thought about this in years, probably since the game came out. But Madden Rewind, you remember that? And
Yeah.
Yes, it was a bad feature, but I feel like for just what it was in the if they just had it for in an arcade Madden game,
right?
And it's just in that mode, I think they should bring it back.
Yeah, well, being a Madden head, I wouldn't be surprised if they do bring it back because EA has a history of saying that a mode is new when really it's from 10 years ago, but they market it as if it's an uncharted territory for them.
Yeah.
So you never know, rewinds might come back. I know for sure I need one when I'm playing Madden. I need 4 or 5 of them.
100%. All right, one thing I want to just ask you about, and that's been living in my head rent-free recently, is something that you haven't been able to tell me a whole lot of stories about, but I have been very curious to know more about your experiences, and that's when you were at Job Corps. And for those of you who don't know, Job Corps is basically for pregnant teens and dudes who do drugs and kids who did pretty bad in school and don't want to do the military.
I was a completely different side of that. I had good parents. I was kind of, I don't know how I want to say this, but I was kind of exposed to those types of kids for an undisclosed reason. But
yeah.
So yeah, I went over there. It was located next to Yakima. It was located in White Swan, and I got stories for days about that. Some are PG friendly, some are pretty rated R friendly. The one story that kind of sticks out in my head is so we have these residential advisors. College, I don't know if they do it in college dorms, but usually they'll have someone comes in, they're in charge of the dorms, making sure people are where they're supposed to be, make sure everyone's keeping their place nice, there's no drugs going on. You kind of get the picture.
Were there drugs going on often?
I do have a story about that.
Yeah.
But honestly, no, and there's a lot of, and I don't want to steer people away because it gets a bad rep, which for good reasons, but you hear stories about, there's a lot of stabbings and all this going on at Job Corps, and when it comes to stuff like that, they actually take it really seriously. They call it zero tolerance, and for short they called it ZT'd.
Yeah.
So if you were to do anything like that, you get ZT'd for it.
Well, I would hope if you were to stab, that you would be kicked out of Job.
That was a legit concern for me because I got hyped up from the fake news.
Well,
so
okay. How did you get it? Why did you go to Job Corps? I don't even remember that.
Well, I knew I wanted to do something. I knew I wanted to leave and experience new things, and I was kind of upset that, I was concerned that, if I just would have stayed, it's like the whole Trevor Wallace skit where it's like the guy who never left his hometown.
Yeah.
And I was kind of, concerned that was going to be me. And, the thing that I wanted to do was join the military. That was something that I wanted to do. Probably could have still did it if I pushed myself, but it was just one of those things where if I were to join the military, it would have taken me a long time, and I didn't know if I had the discipline to be able to, do things by myself and not have someone telling me to do something at that time. So anyway, I go to Job Corps, and then back to the story that I was telling. So yeah, we had a male one and then we had a female one. So the female one, I only saw her once or twice because I went from moving into one dorm and then I switched to another dorm, moved in with her, and she was with them, whatever. So literally the first night that I was there was the week that she was leaving. And so all the guys, it was an all-guy dorm, and so all the guys were saying, "Oh, you're gonna come out and drink with us after?" And so jokingly, but they like kind of were like, oh, let's all give her a hug. Now, at the time, I didn't think it was a big deal. Now that I'm a little bit older, and I can see when you're a woman that's surrounded by a teenage and older guys about how they're all swarming towards you, how that can look.
Yeah.
And she just flips the F out, dude. She's like, what the F is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And then just storms off. It
Because
was like the first day that I was there, and I was like,
because like a bunch of guys are just
fuck.
coming swarming her, or like what?
Yeah, like trying to hug her, I guess, to say like congratulations.
Yeah,
But they took it the wrong way. She took it the wrong way. So.
But you know, that does seem bad.
It does seem bad. I mean, it wasn't their intentions, obviously, but I can see, you know, when I look at it from the other perspective about how that, yeah, you could be looked and stuff. So.
Yeah, and then so the drugs. What's your
so the drug story is, I mean, you would hear from time to time. It was never anything hard. I mean, we're talking marijuana.
Oh, okay.
And stuff like that. So it was going on Christmas break, which, you know, going to Christmas break when you're at Job Corps is definitely a cool experience. You know, it's not something that I want to experience again, but that one was a pretty cool experience. You know, you wake up at 6 a.m., you get with all your buddies, everyone's excited, like, oh, I'm going back home, I'm gonna do this, you know, I'm just gonna go home, have a good time. Pretty cool. But so we all get ready to go off. You know, the buses are going to take us to the Greyhound station, and from there you got to figure out your own way back home. So they load us up on the bus, and one of the directors of like the Job Corps safety division came on the bus and said, listen up, we just saw someone 2 minutes ago smoking outside the dorm, and I'm going to tell you what, right now I have half the nerve to pull every single one of you off the bus and just keep you there. And then he just like went off on a rant, like, how stupid is it of someone to do it right in front of the door and not even be secret about it. Yeah. And this part will always stick with me for as long as I live. He's like, you guys are the Pineapple the Pineapple Express, and he called the entire bus the Pineapple Express because of it. And he just like walked off.
Do you think that would be like an insult? I bet you guys wore that like a badge of honor.
Like a badge of honor. Like, hell yeah, we're the Pineapple Express. But
and like thinking back to it, he did not have that power to keep you guys there.
Probably not. No. He probably didn't, but
yeah.
I mean, if anything, he would have just stalled us, and then we all just get pissed and try to. And they did kind of live in the model to where, you know, if one person does something stupid, I don't know how this was when you were in football or wrestling back in the day, where if one person does something bad, then everyone else is in trouble. That kind of thing. That's kind of how it was. And
yeah, but this wasn't like a sport or like the military. This was like you guys trying to learn a trade, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You guys were just like working 12 hours. It's like basically like you guys were just working a shift for like pennies on the dollar and then
get paid like it was. So we started out at $23.01 because the government always has to do something stupid where they just add the 1 cent for like craps and giggles.
$23.01.
$23.01. I don't even think it was every week. I think it was like every other week. So when people say, "Oh, I work at Walmart and make no money," like, and then by the time I left, it was $32. So I moved up a little bit every 2 weeks, but then when I left, I think I got a pretty, which at the time it was a lot of money because I was like 18 or 19 years old. But even then, if I was just working a minimum wage job and it was like $200, and I could have made that working at McDonald's, but back then I was like, oh my god, I'm rich.
Well, like, because you guys would have something where, because Job Corps, right? You guys are on like a campus, but it's like so far out. You're not really like you can't leave the campus, right? Yeah. It's like a prison almost. You can't leave. You can't go to like stores at night. You have to be on the Job Corps
the premises.
Yeah.
And the bus they took us in was a prison bus, pretty much, for anyone that, realizes that.
Yeah.
So
looking back, would you have gone to Job Corps if you knew, I guess, how it would be after the fact?
So here's the thing: if you were to tell me back then this is how everything is going to play out, number one, I would have tried way harder in school, where are you going?
Oh, I'm just checking.
Okay.
Keep going.
So I would have tried harder in school, and I was one of those people when I was younger, like, 16, 17, 18. It's like, I don't need to go to college, school's stupid, this and that, but nowadays that I've got wiser and I realize just how many jobs, people are able to get with a degree and stuff, and I realize it's never too late and stuff like that, but so my train of thought would definitely be different on that regard. But I would still go to Job Corps again, but I think what I would change from last time is I wouldn't mess around. I would have taken it more seriously. Job Corps, I mean, it was what it was. Had a lot of fun moments and crazy moments and pretty best moments. As a matter of fact, if you want one of my R-rated stories, it's actually on my YouTube channel. It's the Raw Tales, and the subject of the story is Caught with a Toy. So you probably can read between the lines on that one if you needed to.
That's crazy. So
you could.
So would you or would you not go back to Job Corps?
I mean,
knowing everything that you know now, that you would.
If it was my only option, I would, but I would try to do everything in my power to not put myself in that situation.
Yeah.
I would have studied for the ASVAB, which is the military test. I would have definitely I would have hit the gym more. I would have tried to get more in shape, which is the biggest lie is saying, oh, well, you don't have to work out before wrestling practice or go to boot camp. They're just going to do it for you, which is the worst mindset you can ever be, because if you get yourself in shape before you have to do anything physical, it just makes it that much easier. And I'm sure you can relate, because imagine like wrestling practice, which was a grind, but imagine if like the whole summer you were working out, and then by the time wrestling practice came around, it was nothing. You just breezed through it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think so. Like if Trey told you, like future Trey, like everything you know now, came up and told you, like, hey, you're going to be working in the valley, you're going to have this security job, blah blah blah, do you think you would have done Job Corps? Do you think you just would have went to the military? Do you think you would just try and get a job in town?
Yeah, I would probably go the military route.
Yeah.
I'm not very smart, so that kind of limits my college options. So yeah, I definitely would have tried to do things differently, but I'm pretty content where I'm at now. I mean, I'm at the point now where it's like 40 hours a week with benefits. I feel like I made it in a way. that's like all you need, which is a whole nother topic.
Well, this has already turned into, I think, the longest podcast that I've done so far. So
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To kind of close this thing out, the NFL Combine was this last week, I believe. So I kind of want you to give me your honest assessment here. I want you to tell me, and I'm going to ask you the test and give me your answers, how you would do at the NFL Combine given your current physical state, and if we lined you up. So first of all, give me your height.
I think I'm like 6'1".
6'1", stand on my money. No, I'm 6'1".
You're 6'1".
I don't even know my weight.
That's what
I
next
haven't
question.
checked my weight, because if you don't know, then you don't know. That's what I say.
I feel that, but I'm trying to lose weight, so I've been weighing myself.
Yeah, it's like,
but if you had to guess, I think you probably weigh less than me.
Okay, so how much do you think?
I weigh 228. I think you probably weigh 220, 215.
All right, we'll go with that.
Yeah, that's fair. How much do you weigh on your license?
I think it's about the same, actually. Like 220, I told them, or something.
Yeah. If you ran a 40-yard dash.
There's no way. I'm probably getting like a 6'5".
You're honest about your skills. I think you could probably do it in
If I could get under a 7, I'd be honestly surprised with myself. I'd be content with that.
I think you could do like a 5'9".
5'9",
Yeah,
that's optimistic.
Just under 6. You know, who knows? Maybe the next time Trey's on, we'll have a clip of him running the 40.
Only if you do it too.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have clips of us running the 40.
The 40-yard dash.
Not in this episode, so I don't know.
Up after.
I don't know why I'm pointing at the camera. If you had to bench press one plate on each side, so that's like the NFL they do 225.
Right.
If you had just one plate on each side.
Oh God. Again, I don't even know if I can get one rep in.
You don't think so?
Maybe I could do I think my max would be 5 to 10. Maybe I can get lucky and get 15, but
you think you could do a pull up?
I even when I was in high school, I couldn't do a pull up. Yeah.
I was afraid of pull ups.
Not that I was in peak physical shape back then either, but I was probably worse. So yeah.
Well, do you have anything else that's living rent free in your head, Trey, that you want to get out?
So you talk about the combine, and I have to ask you as a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. And you probably touched on this on the podcast if I didn't get a chance to hear it, but I need to get your opinion on the new head coach. You guys hired Liam Coen. I want to get your opinion on that, and what direction do you guys think you should go in this upcoming draft?
I think Liam Coen is fine. He kind of fits what the NFL head coaches are
like the
looking
McVays,
like. Yeah,
McVays, that kind of coach.
He's an offensive-minded young guy.
Yeah,
and I mean that's
the
fine.
tight pants guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's good. He's fine. I don't really. I'm so just burnt out from the Jags and how much they hurt me. That even though it seems like these are all the right moves that they're making, I don't want to get excited about it until I see the results.
Yeah, because then, your disappointment lasts shorter.
Yeah. And as far as the draft goes, I either want us to get the defensive tackle out of Michigan.
Mason Graham.
Yeah. Or Travis Hunter. But I don't think Travis Hunter is going to fall to 5.
Yeah. So you're not sold on Cam Ward or
Trevor
Sanders.
Trevor Lawrence isn't going to get replaced.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
No, that's our guy.
Well, this brings up our topic. So you're still not completely out on Trevor Lawrence.
I never will be.
Never will be.
It doesn't matter who's slinging the rock for the Jags. I'll always back him up. I mean,
even Blake Bortles.
I was a diehard Blake Bortles guy. Yeah. And, I got into a little, not like an argument on Twitter the other day, but kind of like a debate or whatever, where they said the 2011 through 2013 is the worst the Jags have ever been with Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah.
Which is probably true, but it's I have so much fun nostalgia from that team because of dude, Cecil Schwartz was the shit. Love Cecil Schwartz. And I think the worst era of the Jags was 2019 through 2021, Trevor Lawrence's first season.
Yeah, and it's because in 2011 you guys didn't have any expectations.
Yeah.
Hardly. But now when you got Trevor Lawrence, you guys are supposed to be good.
Yeah. And it's 2019 we got Nick Foles, and Nick Foles was even supposed to be kind of the guy to bring us back. He sucked, he got hurt. Then 2020, Minshew went 1-1. Or 1-15, I mean. Yeah. And then 2021, Trevor Lawrence's rookie year, we fucking sucked. So, that was a terrible stretch. And I think arguably worse than that dark ages that everybody talks about.
It's pretty crazy. You guys got Nick Foles and you got Doug Peterson.
Well, they weren't on the same team together.
Yeah, that's true.
But, yeah.
Do you think they kind of cut the cord out of Peterson too early?
No. You hear, the NFLPA or whatever, Players Association, they kind of shit on him. It seemed like he wasn't a good fit there anymore. So.
Well, we actually hired your boy
Doug Marrone
as an offensive line coach. So you'd probably say Del Rio is probably the best overall coach in your history, or Tom Coughlin.
Yeah, Tom Coughlin. Yeah. And that second spot's kind of
up for grabs.
I guess Jack Del Rio technically. He used to wear suits on the sidelines. Yeah. That's something you never see anymore.
Yeah, it kind of looked like I don't know if you ever saw Hardball with Keanu Reeves.
No, I've never seen it, but I've seen.
That's kind of who Jack Del Rio looks like with the leather jacket. That's kind of who he reminds me of for some reason.
I was telling Dad the other day, I've never seen The Replacements Friday Night Lights, the movie or the TV show, and I've never seen Varsity Blues.
Have you seen Any Given Sunday?
No.
Well, that's the best football movie ever made.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like you've changed your opinion on that like a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really seen it like seriously until like a couple years ago, but it's it's in my top 5 movies of all time. Jamie Foxx killed his role in that, and then also Jarhead, which is like a Marine movie that Jamie Foxx is in. So
yeah, well, and you finally just
yeah.
watched Blue Mountain State for the first time.
Yeah, I know. I was sleeping on it, and I heard they're bringing it back.
Yeah, so you watched
so
it at like the perfect time.
At the perfect time to bring it back. I think it's gonna flop personally, but
well, the movie sucked. Did you watch the movie?
The Return of that. Yeah, it wasn't. But at the same time, it's like, you know, one of those things. What do you expect?
My new thing is collecting DVDs, and I got the first season of Blue Mountain State on DVD.
I don't understand why they don't have, they don't ever put out like the special, like the outtakes or like the special features that used to be in DVDs and movies anymore.
Yeah, you know, and speaking of John Cena, I remember, you put in hours on that 5 questions with John Cena. Speaking of DVDs, John Cena, and special features.
And special features.
Yeah. I also told the story in the last podcast about how you remember made that video where I shit on John Cena and the Cena shirt. You remember that?
Yeah. We could do a whole podcast talking about old school YouTube. There was no YouTube for kids. That was not a thing when we were coming up on YouTube. If you were a kid on YouTube back in the day, getting a lot of death threats and tons of them, getting called every name in the book.
I will say it is nice that back in the day it seemed like the trolls and like people that were hating on us or whatever aren't as serious as they are today. Like it seems like if you get shit on the internet these days, or if you're a kid or whatever, they'll find your fucking address. They'll find your house.
Yeah, the whole swatting thing.
Yeah, we never had that.
I always remember the first YouTube video that I remember watching was like a parody version of SpongeBob's The Grandma's Kisses episode.
Like a YouTube.
And I always remember how it opened. It's like Grandma's Kisses, you, and then F-bomb.
This has been this has been an F-slur, N-word heavy episode.
All the slurs, you're getting all of it. What can you expect? Because we're in Idaho.
Should I title this video Trey says the N-word?
Trey says
Trey says the F-word.
But not with the A.
Yeah.
You gotta preface that.
Trey says N-A.
N-A. Not applicable.
That's so dumb. Why was that funny? But we should be like an hour into this podcast. Like I said, the longest one. I'm definitely going to have some heavy editing to do with this one, but that's okay.
Keep you busy.
Yeah, I think this was probably the best episode I've done, so thank you for that.
No doubt.
Fun banter. Hopefully everything comes out okay in the editing. Yeah. And if you're watching this, and it did, and it worked out really well. Good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to come back. Definitely want to do this again. Hopefully next time it'll be at a time where I don't have to wake up the next morning to go to work. That'd be the ideal situation, because then I could really wild out.
Well, I mean, I feel
get all the way naked.
Is you getting up early the only thing preventing you from taking your pants off?
Yeah, because I know I have to put them on at 6 in the morning. No pants on the weekend.
Yeah, no. We can only get Trey pantsless here if it's the weekend.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, hopefully he'll be here again.
I will be back though.
We'll be back.
This will not be my last time.
We'll be back. We're hoping for next week.
I won't say. Excellent.
Yeah, he won't say the N word.
No slurs. Yeah.
I'm gonna bleep every time you're about to say the F word or the N word, so it looks like that you did say it.
I actually said it.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Breaking news: Trey's been fired from his job at the corporate of Treeb.
Oh man, too much fun. Again, hope Trey comes back. He will come back, but we're gonna try to pressure him into next week. We're gonna try to get a scheduling thing that makes sense so we can have him on next week.
For sure.
And we can make this a common occurrence because nobody banters like the TNT brothers.
TNT.
And Dynamite.
Yes, sir.
And, we might even, Trey comes on enough times, we might even change the podcast name to, like, the TNT podcast or something.
The Slaughter Brothers. From Idaho.
I'm F-word joined by N-word here. Alright, that's enough. Thank you guys for tuning in to the podcast. Trey, you want to plug anything or are you good?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. Trey is Raw. All one word with an AY, not an EY. If you want to check out my stuff. Shane got you 11. My guy from Spokane, Washington. I'm on a podcast with him every other Friday at 10:30 p.m. So be on the lookout for that.
We keep you up late.
Well, on Friday it's not that big of a deal because
you
no pants and I can sleep in. So
God,
that's about it.
You're quick with it.
Yeah.
All right, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, click the bell icon to get notified every single time we drop a new video. And again, if you guys want to just listen to the audio form of this, the video's not doing it for you. You don't want to see our two sexy faces on the podcast. I don't know why you would ever want to do that, but you can. It's on every single podcast platform in the world. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.